I'll be over at 10, you told me time and again, but you're late. I waited around and then I run to the door. I can't take any more. It's not you. You let me down again. Baby, baby, try to find a little time and I'll make you happy. I'll be home. I'll be beside the phone waiting for you.
Okay, welcome to another edition of the Brew Crew Review. On today's episode, we got a special episode planned for you today as we go over some of the end-of-the-year awards for the Milwaukee Brewers. They've wrapped up a successful season here. We're going to go over the 2006 schedule, which is now out and available for you to check out. And also, of course, we're going to look for our long-lost co-host Scott Bartell. Also, we've got a special edition of the Miller Park Sausage Race to show you. So coming up, that's a special segment. But with us, we have an honorary guest today in our studio and a guest panelist, and that is Mr. John Barnes, Assistant Vice President of Ticket Services for the Milwaukee Brewers. So welcome, John.
Thank you, Craig. Welcome. Thank you, Vince. Thank you, Chad. My pleasure to be here, right in the middle of the best baseball during the season with the postseasons going strong. Great to be here to talk Brewers baseball. Next year, hopefully, we'll have to extend it a few weeks.
That's right.
When we're in postseason.
That's the plan, definitely. Yep. So we haven't started printing playoff tickets yet for next year, but soon, hopefully.
Looking forward to that.
Definitely looking forward to that.
Looking forward to that. Good.
So, John, tell us a little bit about, first of all, how you first became involved with the Milwaukee Brewers organization.
Craig, this is my 28th season with the ball club, finishing that. All in tickets. Started off working part-time with Vince's dad in the ticket office in 1978. I got hired full-time, worked my way up the ladder from general ticket office manager to director, and now to assistant vice president. And every day I love to come to work because how bad is it when you work at a ballpark?
Not bad at all.
Yeah,
not bad at all.
Love it.
So over the years, you've been through a lot of ups and downs of the Brewers. Do you have any Brewers baseball here in Milwaukee? Do you have any particular personal highlights as far as your experience working for the organization up to this point?
1989, met my wife. That was a highlight. She worked. My wife Robin worked in. I hired her to work in the ticket office. Believe it or not, and my son Michael's out in the audience today, helping me along. So that was the major highlight, and the one that keeps me coming back is 1982 when the Brewers won the American League Championship. We worked nearly 24/7, Craig, during that period of time from the 4th of July on, and somebody had asked me one time, did you get a chance to enjoy it? And truthfully, the answer was no, and I said I'd enjoy the next one. And
yeah, it was a little hectic, huh?
A long time later, and that's what keeps me coming back every season is the next one.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing like a World Series in Milwaukee.
So you've got a nice 23 years to prepare for the next time that we can possibly start printing playoff tickets.
Absolutely, I'm ready. A lot of pent-up energy, a lot of demand out there. So when we do that again.
Thank God you don't work for the Cubs.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
That actually ties into a question I was going to ask.
Sure.
You said that you started in 1978, and the team was just on an upswing, I think, at that point.
Right.
1978 was a year, I think, that we had just signed Larry Heisel. We had brought in Sal Bando, if I remember
Sal
right.
Bando the year before.
Okay.
Larry Heisel was a free agent. Harry Dalton's first year was 78. George Bamberger was the manager.
And
brought back Gorman Thomas to center field.
So it was one of the years that the Brewers really started to improve, and the team kind of made a transition, I think, from some of the years before, which had been pretty woeful baseball. But
yeah, absolutely.
With the team, when you started going up and then having a few great years and then having, unfortunately, a few bad years in between as far as performance on the field, do you see that the team is improving now where you can say that we're hopefully going in the right direction again? It's another upswing?
Vince, absolutely. It's going to be sooner than later. I was talking to somebody. I can't remember whom, about the similarities between 78 and this season, where we have a young shortstop, where struggled at first, and in fact, in 78, Robin Yount sat out a couple of months because he was contemplating playing golf, where truly was injured, and then Paul Molitor came in to play. I think there's similarities there between J.J. Hardy and Ricky Weeks. Pitching staff, we got a has-been pitcher, lefty, that threw junk by the name of Mike Caldwell, ended up winning 22 games and 25 complete games, and there's similarities between him and Capuano. So you can see it, and you can see that there's a winning attitude, a good mindset with these players, and they're ready to go. So I think it's a step or two towards next year, which we'll talk about later. I think we'll be right in the midst of it, even more than we were this year.
Good. I'm sure that a lot of Brewers fans are going to be very glad to hear that.
Yes, sure are.
So that brings us to the topic that this year the fan excitement at Miller Park was pretty apparent. The Brewers this year finished 500 for the first time in quite a while, and during the course of the season, there were some ups and downs, of course, but I think that they stayed pretty consistent throughout the year, and basically the Brewers drew the third highest attendance ever in their history since 1970. So what do you think attributed to that, besides just the team doing better?
The new attitude. I firmly believe Doug Melvin, Ed Yost are a major part of that. They do the right things. They give 110%. Doug Melvin's a genius when it comes to baseball talent. Last year we drew 2 million. This year we drew 2.2, which was the third largest. Now that is the standard. I think that's what the Brewers and baseball fans around Milwaukee, Wisconsin should expect from now on, because we've done it 2 years in a row. The future is now. You see your Prince Fielder bobblehead with Beloit.
Yeah.
These guys are up here now. We've advertised them for years that this is our future. Fans come out and see the product on the field. Plus, working with Ned Yost, the players give 9 innings. We're never out of it, and that shows. And Milwaukee's a good market, a hard market, but they want to see value. They want to see the players hustle. And then win or lose, okay, they'll come back.
Yeah.
A lot's been made, Mr. Barnes, of the new owner, Mark Antanasio. How much impact do you think he's made on the team and just in the community in general for them to draw over 2 million people once again?
I have a tremendous amount of respect for the Selig family that brought baseball to Wisconsin and gave the whole major league effort here over the course of all the years. I think the newness of a new owner, something different, had something to do with it. Sure. Did it have for a gigantic bump? I doubt it, because owners, umpires, nobody really comes out to see those, but the attitude behind the scenes and being in there and something new and different, sure.
Has there been any difference working with a new owner compared to the Selig regime, or has it been basically the same?
No, the same. You work in the ballpark, and you two too. Also, we are truly behind the scenes, so we're insulated with that. On Doug Melvin, hopefully getting more money to get the talent. That's a different. These guys have deeper pockets. But what I like about what Mark did, Mark Antanasio with the owner, he kept some of the local people, and there's some true high quality, passionate baseball people like Harris Tur and Steve Marcus from the Marcus Corp and the Lubar family, people that really love baseball and believe in baseball, and it's important to keep Milwaukee in the major leagues. So that part was sheer genius. And how much Mark's enjoying the community? Well, he bought part of the hockey team too.
That's
so,
right.
Yeah,
he's enjoying the city. So
Definitely. And pretty much to honor the faithful Brewer fans that came out to support the team this year in the new owner's first season as an owner, he did something that was kind of unprecedented, and that is give away free tickets to all fans for the last game, which was a Thursday afternoon against the Reds on September 29th. To that game, free tickets to all fans. And what was your take on that gesture by the owner and
why
the
not?
event?
Why not? We're expecting a crowd of 13,000 for the last game. Why not get some people out that, first of all, reward good fans that are coming out, that they might want to come out to one more game, plus sample your product, maybe get some folks that have never had the opportunity to see Miller Park or Major League Baseball and come out and hopefully come back again and again. I truly believe, and I've discussed this with folks in the media and others, none of us could come up with an occasion, a game or event during the regular season where an owner gave away 30,000 tickets to
That was going to be my
to a
question. Has this
ballpark.
been? It wasn't precedented at all.
No, NBA, NFL, Major League Baseball, none of us could come up with something like this that happened. So
So I think it was a great goodwill gesture, and I think for a PR move for the owner. And I did not find out to the day of that game that it was actually that happened to be the owner's birthday too.
right.
So that was kind of
Sure.
his gift, not to himself, but to the people.
What
So
a
And
way
you'll-
to celebrate with 30,000 of your closest friends.
Yeah.
And a few racing sausages, which you'll
Yes,
see in a
see
little
you
bit.
later. Oh,
that's right.
Very good.
So another question, obviously the big turning point in Brewer, the future of baseball in Milwaukee was when it was decided upon that Miller Park would be built. And was there any time as an employee with the Brewers, sometime in that period before that was decided upon, that it seemed like there was like a time when you weren't sure about the future of baseball in Milwaukee? And personally, your experience working for the ball club, and how much did Bud Selig have to do to get that stadium built?
He, the day in 1995, I believe it was, when the vote was the 3 Senate votes, that had to been my lowest point, because I went to bed that night thinking that there was no chance, and you really needed a new stadium to survive. And I'm seeing it now more from the peripherals, being a place where people come, a destination point rather than a ballpark. And again, all years in county stadiums, the Braves, I believe, did it twice, the Brewers did it once, drawing 2 million. Here we've done it 3 out of 5 years at Miller Park. That tells you something. The economics of baseball has changed. Mr. Selig, I firmly believe, single-handedly got it done to save the Brewers in Milwaukee. Otherwise, there was no way we could compete. His legacy as commissioner, too, will be the unprecedented stadium building boom. All the cities that have new
Yeah.
ballparks.
Yeah, you look over the years that he's been commissioner, Cleveland, Pittsburgh,
Right.
Arlington, us, Seattle. I mean, you could name off
Sure.
another 5-6 teams that have gotten new stadiums since he's been commissioner.
More than that. Michael and I and our family went down to St. Louis for their final regular season weekend, just to say we were at Busch for one more time. And here, there's the greatest baseball city, I feel, in the major leagues is St. Louis. They're similar to the Packers and Green Bay, where there's this huge following. And their stadium is okay, and they draw over 3 million year in and out, but they feel the need too because of the amenities and the destination point. It's just, you just don't go to Busch Stadium. There's nothing else there. But by making it an entertainment venue, an entertainment attraction like Miller Park is, then things will pick up. Then they see baseball and get the peripherals going, and maybe come out to a game or two.
We've been hearing in interviews with Mark Antonazio that there's possibilities of renovations in the stadium, changes in the stadium. As you say, with the new stadium, it builds more revenue, and there may be other things going on. Is there anything that you can tell us or confirm about the new stadium? Possibly next year that would be treated to?
Yeah, a couple of things that, while it's not permanent, these are being discussed and they're out there. Along the right field line on the club level, there are plans to take out some of the seatings and the suites and make it into a party-type area like the Dew Deck. Okay. One of the things we're realizing is our group, Milwaukee Brewers lead the major leagues in group sales by percentage.
Wow.
And people expect more now. They just don't want to just come out in a group, or they would all want to set up their own tailgate. They want to do more. They want to have top to bottom, come in, have the food and beverage all taken care of, and a great seat. So we're finding that out more. In the right field corner, there's a manual scoreboard out there which will be taken out, and the outfield wall will be moved in a few more feet, and that'll be like a picnic area, a rip-off of what they do at Comiskey at White Sox Park with their picnic area.
Okay.
Where it'll be a field-level bleacher picnic area for groups.
Nice.
And then are they going to install like an electronic out-of-town scoreboard?
Yeah,
or?
an LED plasma-type board all the way around the seating bowl, I believe either on the loge level or the club level, which will take the out-of-town scoreboards, things. Watching the game today in Houston, they had a neat thing where not only did they have the speed of the pitch, but what kind of pitch it was.
Oh, nice.
It
That's
said
pretty neat.
curveball, 81 miles an hour, fastball, 98. And that kind of information, because I know we've all sat out there with friends and family and go, what kind of pitch was it? And I go, I think it was a slider or a curveball or a changeup. That's the kind of information people want. and
Yeah,
that's
it's
what I
a
have.
great way to educate fans
Oh,
and to get them more
absolutely.
involved in the statistics of the game. And I think in this day and age with the internet and graphics flying all over the television set when they're watching,
Sure.
that these are something that people crave. Any type of stats, the most information you can give them is going to be the best. So
Well,
it's a good idea.
Craig. You hit the major point of baseball as entertainment today. That's what we're competing against.
Yeah.
The internet. People can get the information. They can get up to the date, up to the minute scores. They can get everything they want on the internet. They can stay home, listen to the game, and their theater sound and on an LED screen. But to be there, to be entertained, to get stuff that you can't get on TV right away. The sound of the ball in the leather, the curveball, the cheer. I mean, today watching the Astros and the Braves, I would have given anything to be there live.
Yeah.
Watching on TV was nice, but if you were there for the 18-inning game,
Yeah.
there's nothing like it. Same thing with and you can't merchandise it, you can't market it, but when Derek Turnbull comes out of the bullpen
That's
for the
right.
save, it gets electric
Yeah,
at Miller
does.
Park.
Yeah.
And that's where I think part of the reason what Mark did with the free game, to get people to come out to experience it,
Yeah.
to feel how exciting it is live.
Definitely a great idea. And one other thing you had mentioned about
Sure.
how popular St. Louis is as far as a great baseball city, similar to like football tradition-wise with the Green Bay Packers here in this state. Now, what do you think? What do you think that the Brewers would have to do to be able to build the type of fan base and that type of great fan explosion that the Packers do? Now, given the Brewers don't have as much of a winning history and tradition
Correct.
as the Packers, but I really think that in the future that there are fans in Wisconsin, especially Milwaukee, that I think can be great baseball fans. What, in your opinion, has to happen for fans to get to that level?
And actually, before
Yeah.
you answer that,
Sure.
just to add to Craig's question here, could you explain a little bit about what it was like in the early '80s when the Brewers were the team that was the team to beat, and they were the championship team in Wisconsin?
And that was the example, Craig. I look at the pen
Yeah.
behind your shoulders where in '82,
still
It
up, by
hasn't
the way.
fallen yet.
yes, the '82 parade down Wisconsin Avenue in Milwaukee, there was nothing like that.
Yeah.
Absolutely nothing like it. And that's what it'll take, tradition of winning baseball. Vince, you hit it on the head. From 78 to really 92, I would make a case that the Brewers were pretty
Yeah.
just as popular as the Packers, if not more, because we were winning, we were always in it. It was close. The Packers were down, then Brett Favre came to the Packers during that period. We went in the tank, and boom, the rest is history. It's a tradition thing. Also, for a person like myself, in the Braves, I was a kid. I was 9 years old, and the Braves left. So there was that vacuum in the 60s where there was no Major League Baseball. I hated the Cubs. I still do. So,
Makes
I
four of us,
sort
I
of
think.
became a quasi...
Applause.
Yes. a quasi Cardinals fan, just because everybody else liked the Cubs. But the only other thing we had to attach ourselves to were the Packers.
Yeah.
And Big Ten football and basketball. That was it. There was no Bucks. There was no Major League Baseball. The Packers were the only game in town. And in the 60s, you had the Super Bowl I and II, the glory years of that. And that's hard. That's, as we see day in, day out, they keep marching out those folks. And that's what we're going up against. And we're beginning now to build a newer tradition with this ball club, with Ned Yost, Doug Melvin. I mean, I love Robin Yount. I love Paul Molitor, but still now I'm beginning to really enjoy J.J. Hardy and Jeff Jenkins, and I like Carlos Lee. And, that kind of attraction, fan relationship is what's important.
I would argue even just this 500 season has been a tremendous boost for baseball in Milwaukee. I mean, the excitement of the fans, I think, has been palpable. We've been able to see it. We've all been out at the stadium many times, and I think that the fans are generally getting fired up about this team. And so, not just to be a cheerleader because we all love the Brewers, but I think that there's genuinely a change for the good, I think, in Milwaukee.
Exactly. And in the 90s, for whatever reason, again, I mentioned, we've all been in tickets our whole life, so I don't know exactly what happens behind baseball closed doors, but you three know what baseball card I have on my door, don't you?
Oh,
Kevin,
you mean the one with Kevin Barker, on it?
Kyle Peterson.
Right.
Kyle Peterson and
Oh, yeah.
Marshall Bowes was, I don't know if he's on
Sure.
there or not,
But
but
there were some bad baseball decisions, people that are no longer. And then this market was tentative, and we keep talking Ricky Weeks, we keep talking Prince Fielder, J.J. Hardy, Corey Hart, the list goes on, and then people would throw back to me, Kyle Peterson, Kevin Barker,
Antoine
Williamson.
and where are these now?
Chad Green.
And in the 90s too, we had no. I mean, what players were we attached to?
As you would know, up at the front office for the Brewers has done a tremendous job the last few years with the draft. I know that some of our other shows we've gone over and looked at both this year's draft and then the past years and looked through our minor league system for prospects. We made a trip down to Nashville to go see our AAA team last year. But has that truly been a change that you've seen? Is just the focus now on scouting and our idea that we're trying to take maybe a blueprint out of a page from the Cleveland Indians or the A's or the Twins?
I'll defend Sal a little more on that because he was pre-revenue sharing, and the Twins were the exception in Cleveland too, because there are a lot of teams that were struggling. But now it seemed like we were plugging in with iffy free agents, the Jeff Hammonds, Sean Barrys,
both members of our Brewers Hall of Shame, actually.
Yes, all I have to do is go into my son's Michael closet and see, all the different jerseys he's had, the players that are long gone.
He's probably got some Jeffrey Hammonds
and
Jamie Navarro in 2 different Brewers jerseys.
Sure. Yeah. And it started, I think, when Doug came on. He looked at our minor league and our major league roster and go, boy, we can go out and sign a iffy free agent for $8 to $10 million a year, or put that money in the R&D to this, research and development, the player scouts, things like that, and it's paying off.
And how do you think that the Brewers have become a team that's looked to the Rule of 5 draft to acquire some of the most, I think, unique talent in Brewers history? I mean, the collection of guys that we've been able to put together the last couple of years with Doug Melvin, the Rule of 5 draft, has been fairly incredible for the price that we've actually paid to get these guys.
And the waiver wire. Derek Turnbull.
Yep.
Cut by the Angels.
And Pasednik, too.
Doug Davis.
Yeah.
Doug Davis.
I think the
Davis cut by the
coaching
Blue
staff, too,
Jays.
has a lot to do with it. The acquisition of Mike Maddox turning around to Derek Turnbull and
Doug Davis and
Chris Capuano and Derek Turnbull. And
absolutely.
It's been incredible.
One of the things that, again, with the Selig ownership and the Atanasio ownership too, where this just doesn't happen in one season. Sports Illustrated named Miller Park and the Milwaukee Brewers #1 in a fan survey.
Yeah, I think
for amenities, which is huge.
And not only did we actually, I believe, originally had tied for #1, and then all of a sudden they give it to the Brewers as a sole #1 team just because they view our baseball future as being better than the Pirates. So now we have both the amenities of Miller Park, and then we're just as good as the Pirates, hopefully, on the baseball field.
And that's something you don't do overnight. Bud Selig is the #1 fan in baseball. He lives and dies. He taught me a passion for the Brewers, and that sticks on. And also a caring for the fans too, which Mark Atanasio carries on too. Where you listen to the fans, you know what they want outside of a winning ball team, which is not as obvious as people think, but everything else. And part of the reason too, all 4 of us are familiar with the baseball, with the ticket plans we have to keep it affordable. We all work the day, we gave away 30,000 free ones, but on top of that, every Sunday it's a family day, kids, senior citizen discount days.
College nights and Fridays.
College nights. That's been a tremendous success this year.
A half-price tickets in the
Buckethead
bleachers.
Brigade.
The free military ID, 2 free tickets with a military ID on Sundays.
All different markets to get people out, hopefully once, and they'll come back again and again.
And I think that being a businessman, the new owner, Atanasio, is really, I know that the Selig might have had some input into kind of hand-picking him, because I know there was a couple potential possible owners, and I so far from what I've seen, they've definitely made a great choice. So
absolutely,
we're probably going to have to move on to our next segment, but I think we can all agree upon the fact that the Brewers are about to embark on a very exciting time in baseball tradition here in Milwaukee as we move forward into an exciting future. So let's take a little bit of break, and we'll come back and we're going to unveil and go over some highlights for the 2006 Milwaukee Brewers schedule, which we're already looking forward to. So stay tuned, and we'll be right back. All right, and we're back here at the Brewer Review. Again, we've got John Barnes in studio as our special guest, and we're going to go over for you fans looking forward to next year already, like we are, we're going to go over some highlights for the 2006 schedule here month by month. First of all, it's as we're going to see, the Brewers are going to kick off the season on Sunday, April 2nd with Brewers on Deck, which is a special event kind of for the whole family. Come out, take pictures with players, get to meet players, get some autographs, and a whole
If I
lot
remember
more.
right, last year was the first year that we had the Brewers on Deck as a
Well, I think-
promotion.
They've had
Why they
it
did that was
at
'cause
the
it was
mall several
at the
times.
mall.
but-
yeah.
The first time last year was at the stadium, right? Is that
Yeah.
how it worked?
And that's because it was snowed out at the mall, and I know because I tried to go. And
Yeah.
but then they moved it to the day before the season started. I think it was a huge success, so I
Yeah.
think they decided to keep it like that. And
That's it, and it's an open house. You know, you
Yeah.
come, you see a workout, you walk around the ballpark, check everything out, hopefully buy some tickets too. Plus this year, it's real important because, Miller Park's an outdoor ballpark that, that
Yeah.
we're open for 45,000 people the next day. You want to make sure all the water works and, the grills work, things like that. So that's important to get some folks out there too to test it out.
And I think that from a fan's perspective, it might be a little bit better because A, you're at a baseball stadium, like you said, just coming to the ballpark is a great event anytime. But B, as many players that do come on the winter tour, you're never going to get the entire team. But the day before the season, you are going to have the entire team there. They're all going to be there for their jobs. They have to be, and I think they're all excited also to meet the fans as well.
Exactly. It gives them an extra day. We have so many new ball players that for the past few years, this gives them an acclimation to where the clubhouse is, where the ticket office is, where my apartment will be, things like that,
Yeah.
which is important too. Get
Might have-
acclimated and adjusted to the Milwaukee area where they're going to live for 6 months.
yeah, I think they were surprised at how popular an event it turned out to be last year, especially with the rescheduling and stuff. So I think that they're expecting it to even be a bigger success
Great.
this year. So
Might have gotten them a win last year too. I remember that they had the interviews with a few players on the field. I know that Davis was one of them, Junior Spivey was another, but then Jeff Cirillo, who got a huge ovation. Maybe that's what got his confidence up and then helped us out in Pittsburgh the next day.
You bet.
We went out and won a game. So
Good.
there you go, good point there, Vince. But we're also
Do I
then
care?
we kick off opening day, which Chad, you might want to comment on this. I know you're looking for this day
I
in
love
particular.
opening day. My favorite day of the year. But it's early this year. We're having our first regular season game at home, and that's been the first
At
time in
Miller
like over
Park.
10 years, right?
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Over
we
10
got to
years.
bundle up a little more for our.
Well, it's
opening
usually,
day
it's only about a
special.
week or less than a week than what we normally start off. So I mean, but it could make a difference as far as. But last year was a nice day.
This is a beautiful day from what I remember and
So
from
let's
what Vince
hopefully-
remembers. But yeah, Monday against the Pirates, and that's always going to be fun. And it's just exciting just the feel of opening day and talking to other fans and just seeing the excitement. And I think it coincides with the on-deck thing. I think that's an excellent, because we were there for the on-deck last year too, and it was just a great time. You could feel the energy in the ballpark, and I think this year will be double the energy and probably double the people because I think everyone, like you said, the town's buzzing about the Brewers, and it's a great way to get people into the stadium and
Also, I'd like
excitement
to
of the Brewer experience.
Sorry to interrupt, Chad, but I'd like to take this opportunity also to invite the fans of our show here around the state to email Chad at Milwaukee Brewer or at brewreview.com and let him know if you'd like to be invited to our opening day party.
Yes.
That is generally thrown by Mr. Chad Collins. How many years has it been now, Chad? That you've,
Since 8th grade, since I left school and walked to Miller Park down 43rd Street. Let's see, 8th grade was 1988, so this will be 17 or 18 years.
Okay.
So,
You'll have to have like a
We also-
20-year
Oh, it's
anniversary
nuts.
party coming up in a few years.
Crazy.
and Mr. Barnesby also might need off that day. For
Yeah,
a few
I'm
hours
writing
at
it
least.
down right now.
Just to let you know if we're scheduling things to
Yes.
see
No,
what.
we're gonna need more.
No Chad, no Craig, no Vince. Okay. It's documented.
We got that on tape.
But
Not happy about it, but I understand.
John was also going to point out then we actually kick off our first road trip.
With the opening of the new Busch Stadium in St. Louis, we've been fortunate enough to open up a few other new ballparks around the major leagues. But April 10th, our first road game is at the first game, regular season game at the new Busch Stadium down in St. Louis.
Yeah, I
was
definitely
gonna say, it
consider
seems
that
like
quite
we're
an
special.
honor.
We opened up a lot of
Very
stadiums. We opened
special.
up the Sky Dome, which is
I
now
kinda
the Rogers
thought
Center.
the
We opened up.
Yeah.
Theory behind that is because they wanted to get a nice first win in their new stadiums, but in the past. But I think we're going to change all that. Hopefully, we can beat the Cardinals and kick off a new tradition. They will. But that'll be an honor actually to Busch
do
Stadium
that.
in a great baseball city like that.
Sure.
That'll be exciting.
One thing I would like to point out, if you take a look at the times, in the past few years in April and September, we've had 6:35 midweek games, and now all games, except for Saturday nights, all night games will start at 7:05. That's
good to
For
know.
some consistency. We surveyed our fans, and the half hour we thought maybe would help on school nights, and
Yeah.
it doesn't. You know, they prefer the consistency. So.
Yeah.
That's good. I didn't even notice
People
that.
in Milwaukee are easily confused, we found out. But, all right, look, highlighting a couple. So we have home
Not
games.
what
Oh,
that
yeah.
was.
Against-
The other thing with the first week at home, we have a good opportunity. It's tough opening on the road. You always have a shot at coming home with a losing record. Here, against 6 games, 3 against Pittsburgh, 3 against Arizona, we could be 5-1, 6-0.
Yep. That'd be great. That's the plan for sure. So we open with Pittsburgh, Arizona. Other homestands in April include the Cincinnati Reds for a 4-game set. Atlanta Braves are always a great draw, of course, since their Brave tradition here in Milwaukee. And we're going to have to move through this fairly fast. Moving on to May, we've got some games against the Astros, the San Francisco Giants, who, depending on how the cards fall, Barry Bonds may be approaching the great Bambino about that time as far as home runs. So that could be a huge draw if indeed he's held in check up until that point, possibly. I think he's, about 6 home runs behind.
He's
from
at
708
right now.
Yeah,
I believe.
Okay,
So-
and Ruth finished, of course, at the legendary 715. So, or was it 14?
15.
15.
It's going to be tough.
714 was
So-
Ruth, 715 was Aaron when he
That's
broke
right,
it.
when he broke it. So, and then we've
755.
got weekend games against the Mets and, of course, the Twins.
Early interleague play.
Very
Yeah,
early.
in May, as long as a weekday set with the Philadelphia Phillies. Moving on to June, we have a nice long homestand there, I see. Washington Nationals, San
Still
Diego
only
Padres.
the second time that the Nationals have ever been to Miller Park, so
Yeah.
it should still have a fairly novel effect on the fans here.
Padres, of course, a playoff team this year. St. Louis Cardinals, they're a tough team, but a great draw. A lot of St. Louis. We get a lot of people from St. Louis
It's
coming
going to be
in.
a big weekend.
Yeah.
And then interleague play. This will be exciting against the Cleveland Indians. Of course, they made some noise in the wild card race this year. Kind of how I'm hoping we can do in next year.
It's a tough 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Washington,
I'd say.
San Diego, St. Louis, and Cleveland.
Yeah, but then we get Detroit, luckily.
Right.
Oh, and Kansas City, which will be
Oh,
kind of nice.
the mystique of interleague play. What a
additionally-
great thing, get to see the Tigers again and the Royals that we've only seen about 8,000 times in our lifetime.
That's
We get to
right.
see Jim Leland, though. Is Miller Park a smoking stadium?
No, it is not. So
Okay.
Have
Well,
to go out to right fielder by TGI Fridays.
Still have to run in there between
you
innings.
see Jim out there.
Or in the 4th level by Bernie
I saw
Stats.
the Ushers escorting Jack McKeon down the line earlier this year. It just didn't work out. So.
The cigars.
Additionally, I believe that the Brew Review is most likely going to be headed to Kansas City on June 23rd through the 25th. We were discussing it earlier in pre-production meetings today. So
It's a great ballpark.
So if you could write that in your notes,
Ballpark.
we're going to meet off on the 23rd.
Okay,
to the
alrighty.
25th.
Although we can't make any promises to our loyal show plans because some people don't show up when they're scheduled to. So anyway, but in July,
Royals Ballpark, Kauffman Stadium's a good ballpark.
That's what we
one
hear.
of
which
the-
I've never been to.
I
With
haven't
Chad
either.
Vince.
No, never.
It's,
Never.
when they had AstroTurf in it, it was bad. I mean, that was the only negative against it. Now it's grass. It's outstanding. So
It'll
Yeah,
be a
we're
good
looking
excuse to go
forward
down and see a new ballpark and to see the Brewers hopefully win on the road too.
Okay, moving on to July.
And
Here,
Wrigley Field.
here we've got the Cincinnati Reds and Chicago Cubs on the weekend. That's the first time we've had the Cubs on a weekend for a
Right.
while. Kind of had a quick question about that, John. Like, do you feel what do you feel it is about the advantage the Brewers have now moving over, more than 7 years ago from the American League to the National League? What's your opinion on the great rivalry that's brought with the Chicago Cubs? Is it better and so much different than any rivalry we had in the American League? And also, if you're going to quick throw out your thoughts on what brand of baseball do you personally prefer, or maybe you don't have a preference, over the old American League Brewers to the now National League Brewers?
I think the rivalry with the Cubs is it's bigger than what was with the White Sox, but the White Sox was still very strong. The Brewers Twins has always been big. That I think is the biggest one. If you take a regional aspect with the team, with Brewers fans, you're seeing more and more going to Minnesota now. I think a lot of the Cubs' mystique is due to the difficulty of obtaining tickets at Wrigley.
Yeah.
That's it. And I'm beginning to like National League Baseball. It amazes me why pitchers can't bat, why they're terrible, why they can't run. But originally I liked the DH when the older sluggers like the Reggie Jacksons and some others got a couple of extra
And we
years.
could keep Paul Molitor
Jeffrey
on the field.
Leonard.
Right, that's true.
And now that sort of changed.
Jeffrey Leonard.
But it gives me a greater appreciation for pitching in the American League. because there's no easy outs.
Yeah, and I agree. I think the managing, there's just more strategy involved with the double switching
Correct.
and the managing of your bullpen and your bench, even for that matter. So,
Well, tonight, with the
Astros.
Astros game, there was one position player left, the backup catcher for the Braves.
Yeah.
Everybody else has been used, and every pitcher was used.
I think it's really exciting. And I
Is that
also,
Eddie Perez? Another former Brewer catcher, Eddie Perez, is the
Yeah.
Braves backup.
I actually think it makes it more important for a National League team, the guys they have on their bench, because I think they get utilized more so than the guys in the American League because they don't have any, as many pinch hitting opportunities with the DH involved in the American League.
I also think that there's a chance for a good rivalry with the Brewers and the Cardinals too, as the Brewers get better. And I think that helps out well. Do you think attendance is helped by the National League? You
Yes.
get more fans with the Cardinals and the Cubs.
Right now, National League's hot.
Yeah.
When we were fortunate in the 70s and 80s, American League were hot. Yankees, Red Sox, White Sox were all good. So,
And
Sure.
Mr. Barnes, one more quick question for you here. I know we're short on time, but the Cubs factor, we've got the Cubs coming in on a weekend, like Craig here said, but do you prefer that they come in during the week? Does that bolster attendance because then you have a week series that possibly sells more tickets, or do you see that as being a benefit on a weekend because it's a for sure sold out weekend?
I for sure sold out weekend. Plus, now if you want to come, if you take a look at the July schedule, now if you want to see a game that first week in July, you have to buy a ticket for the Reds.
Yeah.
So, from a business standpoint, it helps a lot
And then
too.
Summerfest week too.
Correct,
That's the deal.
correct. So
A
that'll
lot
be a
of
nice
people
boost.
in the
a nice
state,
boost.
for sure. Okay, getting toward the end of July, we got Pittsburgh Pirates, Cincinnati Reds on the weekend. Moving over to August, it looks like our homestands are a little bit more sparse there in August, but
Correct.
got the Cubs during the week. That'll be exciting. Hopefully, we'll be setting them back toward the cellar as we move up toward the top of the division. We've got the Houston Astros. We're 4 games set. They're always tough, but again, they're aging. I think this is the year they're going to maybe make a run deep into the playoffs, but next year, hopefully the Brewers are going to be a better ball club than them. Colorado Rockies in August. Okay, moving on to the final month, and this is where we're going to be making our wild card / possible
Correct.
Central Division title push. We kick it off with the Florida Marlins on the weekend. No Jack McKeon this year, though, or next year, I mean. Los Angeles Dodgers, again, the tough series with Houston. And then we end off Miller Park homestand with, again, some tough games. St. Louis for a 3-game set, and then we end with a 4-game set against the San Francisco Giants, who I actually think are also kind of on the downslope as far as they're getting older, too. So hopefully those are series we can win, and as we battle for the division or possibly wild card spot, it'll be a really exciting year for sure.
And hopefully Barry Bonds is not going for 755 or 756 at that
during
point,
that period.
No.
And wouldn't it be nice to have good drama with the last series at St. Louis?
Yes.
Possibility for maybe a division or wild card run. So
For sure.
ending the week against the Cubs and St. Louis could be very important within the
That's
division.
right.
So I like the setup.
And as we saw this year, they've been doing such a phenomenal job scheduling those, especially the last week and weekend games.
White
With
Sox
division
Indians,
rivalries, they've been hitting those right
That,
ahead.
that says a
Incredible.
lot for us to go against St. Louis.
Yeah, I think
final
I think
weekend.
they're predicating the future that we're going to be battling out the division there with the last 4-game set at the new Busch Stadium. So that's going to be very exciting. So we're looking forward to that for sure. So, all right, well, we need to move on to our next topic and segment. Well, before we get into the clip we got coming up here, we're going to mention that our co-host, who's with us today, Vince Travato, got a spot as an honorary racing sausage, and he was able to run in the last game, the all-fan-free game, as the giant racing Italian sausage, and it was quite an honor.
Well,
But another one of our co-hosts who doesn't happen to be here today, and that's
we don't know
Scott
where
Bartell.
he is, unfortunately.
We've left messages, emails. We just have not heard from him.
Brewer
We're
Awards.
wishing him well,
Is he on
but
milk cartons? Yes.
Yeah, he might be. We're not sure. We can't find a
okay.
picture of him to
All
put
right.
on one, so
Dartboards.
unfortunately.
He's on dartboards.
but we sent the camera crew along with Vince on the day at Miller Park, and
I was a bit surprised. I had no idea what to expect. All of a sudden, I'm looking
well,
at
actually,
this.
we got a clip of it here. Or
Oh, you
whatever.
do?
So
Okay.
let's.
All right. Well,
even though Sky's not here to us today, we're still able to have a segment here. So let's go ahead and let all you fans know, for all of you who have been worried, including Scott's mom, we do have footage of him. So here we go with Where in the Hell is Scott Bartell?
All right, everybody. Brew Crew Review fans, we're here in the service area underneath Miller Park. As you can see, your host, Vince Travato, this is underneath the costume of an Italian sausage. All right, we just got interrupted by some rabid Brewers employees. All right, take two. This is Vince Travato, your Brew Crew Review host. Unfortunately, we're still not sure on the whereabouts of one of our anchor people, but we do have the unit, Chad Olson, and also Brian Baruch here racing with me. Scott? What? Ladies and gentlemen, a breaking development. Our long-lost anchor person, who has not been seen in weeks. We put out an SOS for him on our last show, has been found. The one and the only Scott Bartell. Scott, apparently you're dressed as the bratwurst here at Miller Park, and what has led you into this predicament? You're down underneath the tunnel. What did you make a history of this? Are you usually the sausage here at Miller Park?
No, it's just a little something you do, and I mean it's just a little side project we're working on here. It's working out pretty well so far. It's actually pretty tiring, but yeah, it's good to see you. I mean, it's great to see you guys.
Yeah, good to see you too, Scott. Hey, Scott. Okay, we gotta go. All right.
All right, we're back, and Vince, we found Scotty.
We did.
And that was quite a surprise. What did you think when Scotty popped up out of the bratwurst costume?
Well, to be honest with that guy, nothing surprises me. We found him at an ESPN anchor desk. We found him playing a game with like lawn boat. What was he playing? Skee ball. Which apparently he's been saying that he's mastered, but he's actually terrible at it. And so additionally, I guess I'm not very surprised at where we find Scott. But yeah, the Polish sausage costume or the bratwurst costume, I guess, was, you know, a bit unique, but it's Scott. So it's,
I always
Scott, we do
about-
miss you. If you want to come back here, we're not going to make fun of you too bad for losing the race. But
I always worry about him a little bit more in the off season because he just, you know, he doesn't get to hang out with just wander and loiter around Miller Park like he's used to. So
we did get that random email with a new phone number, but we dialed it and it's never been set up. So we have no idea.
So we're going to do our best to try to actually invite Scotty to the episode next month, so stay tuned for that. But let's get into that experience that, unfortunately, Scotty finished last. Sorry about that. But you got the opportunity to run in the sausage race. Tell us about the whole experience there.
Definitely. Well, first of all, I was a bit surprised. I didn't know if the race was set up. I didn't know if it was real or not, but it is real. It's not rigged at all. You're actually running out there. It's not predetermined.
It's like my wrestling.
Wow.
Just like well, yeah. I didn't know. There had been a rumor from some of the,
T card.
Or inside source.
Oh, wait, that's
inside
too
source.
obvious.
Yeah, inside source was
Talking about
Tom Carter. Yeah, but he was. Anyways, we had.
well, he said he
about the
can't
sausage
mention
race.
his name anymore, otherwise he
Just
won't
use
give us
TC,
any more
guys. T
information.
Carter's.
Just say
Okay.
it.
Well, in any case, we had the benefit of the experience now of the race, and so we had the plan before the race began to go and shake Mark Adanasio's hand because A, it's his birthday, and B, he had given the entire stadium free tickets that day and an outstanding giveaway to fans. So we thought we'd go over and do this, and
So that was the plan, but let's not give it away because we'll be able to show the viewers what exactly did happen. You can kind of recap what went wrong or what have you. So let's go ahead, and again, this was on Thursday, September 29th, Milwaukee Brewers versus Cincinnati Reds. Adam Dunn standing on the on-deck circle, and Vince.
It's actually very imposing when you're running around the field and all of a sudden you see the biggest player in the National League, perhaps, who's standing there. It would have been him and Willie Mo-Pena, so not a good combination to trip over their bats or anything. So.
Yeah, thank God it wasn't Randall. But so we've got, look for Vince and root him on. He's going to be the Italian racing sausage, and of course Scott. Unfortunately, we already know his fate, but he's the bratwurst. So
Chad Olson was also in the race as well.
That's right.
He's the hot dog. Chad hasn't been here for a couple episodes, but he was your loyal reporter down in Chicago at Wrigley Field earlier this year, and he'll be back soon. And the Polish sausage was.
It just shows how big the Brew Crew Review is getting, where they're inviting us to race in sausage races.
It legitimizes the show, sure. Okay, so let's go ahead and go to that footage. Again, this is the racing sausage, a popular event for both kids and adults alike. And again, Vince is the Italian sausage. Root him on. Let's go to that footage.
Go, Vince.
So that was an exciting sausage race. Unfortunately, Vince, you did not come in. In fact, it looks like you finished about third there. It was almost a photo finish, but your plan to go shake Mark Antanasio's hand, what all happened there? And the Polish sausage ended up winning, but he really looked like he had an unfair advantage. He kind of took off toward the finish line while you guys were occupied.
The Polish sausage decided to not try to shake the owner's hand, so unfortunately we all got a little bit of a delay, I guess, if we tried to. So in any case, Polish sausage won the race. I guess our hats are off to him, but a bit of an unfair advantage, and maybe next year we'll be back and hopefully racing again, and it'll be a bit more of a contest this time.
Start training right now.
Yeah, it's going to be a busy winter. We're going to do a lot of calisthenics, some exercises, and hopefully be out there ready to go in 2006.
Yeah, so I think that'll be a goal for you next year.
Oh, without a doubt.
To definitely, finish higher than third in the sausage race for sure. That's definitely a goal for next season. Yeah. All right, we're back here at the Brew Crew Review, and we're going to go over some of our end-of-the-season awards for the Milwaukee Brewers. And again, a fine season, 81 wins, 81 losses, one of their most successful years in a long time. Let's start by going over the Milwaukee Brewers 2005 Rookie of the Year. Chad, you want to start us off? Who was your pick for the Rookie of the Year for the Brewers?
I would go with J.J. Hardy. I think just like his overall, how his offense has improved. He's gotten confident. I think he played solid defense. Weeks did tail off. He had a thumb injury, and he had way too many errors. And Hardy was consistent. He battled back from adversity. I'll give it to J.J. Hardy.
Michael and I talked about that on the drive over here, and we agree with J.J. Hardy. He had 50 RBIs out of the 7-8 spot.
Yeah,
And,
I think I read somewhere he was like one of the top 3 Brewers in batting average with runners in scoring positions, so that would account for the RBIs.
Clutch.
And great defense, and he really made improvements in the second half. Well, that's a definitely great choice. I'm going to, just to be different, I'm going to go with Ricky Weeks, just because I think he brought a lot of fan excitement earlier in the season. And I think if it wasn't for the thumb injury, I think his batting average would have finished much higher. And I think the comparisons that people make to Sheffield, and the good comparisons as far as his bat speed and his talent and his possible future development of both power and just a great all-around player, I think are going to come true. So I think he had a successful rookie season. I'm going to give him my Brewer Rookie of the Year award for 2005.
Craig, I'm going to join actually with Chad and John and Michael with the pick for J.J. Hardy as our Brewers Rookie of the Year this year. We had a discussion about this earlier, I know, in our pregame notes, but the J.J. Hardy factor, I think, was very important. Like we said, he's a clutch player. The second half, he was one of the hottest hitters in all of baseball, not just the Brewers. I mean, between the All-Star game and early September, he was outstanding. Between September and the end of the year, he was one of the best players. I think he had the 3rd highest batting average in the National League. And all year long, his defense was very solid. He never hurt us in the field at all. So J.J. Hardy is my guy.
Okay. John, if you'd want to start us off, who's your pick for 2005 Brewers Unsung Hero of the Year award?
We had a little discussion on that on the way over. Michael likes Helms because he was just such a huge pinch hitter off the bench, but I'm going to go a little skewed, between MVP and Unsung Hero with Bill Hall. He filled in 3 places great, and was really a bench player in the mix, came to be front line, 4th in the team in home runs, showing great potential. So we got Wes Helms and Bill Hall.
Yeah. Good. Chad?
I'm going to go with Mike Maddox. I think what he did with his development of pitchers. Capuano had hopefully not a career year, but it could be one of his career years. Rick Helling was amazing at the end. Derek Turnbull. I think Mike Maddox, if he could hit his music somewhere.
The Kill Bill theme, yeah.
That's awesome. But I think Mike Maddox is the unsung hero of the team, and I don't know. I just think he's done wonders for the pitching staff. So I'm gonna go with Mike Maddox. But I do like Wes Helms, and I think those are great picks. Bill Hall obviously is an unsung hero as well, but I'll take Mike Maddox.
What I think, I'm going to go with Bill Hall. I mean, this is a guy who filled in admirably a lot of positions. Our rotating third baseman, he filled in great, had a great beginning of the season. He filled in when J.J. Hardy was struggling. Same thing later in the season when Ricky Weeks was having his thumb problem. when he needed the time off, defensive late game replacement. Bill Hall filled in. He was great in the field. Had a great hitting year. And definitely Bill Hall. I think the Brewers really need to retain him as a utility player, if not possibly give him another shot at this everyday third baseman. The numbers he put up, I think that he's such a valuable commodity, and I think very overlooked, and that's why I think it makes him unsung, definitely.
Well, I promise Brew Review fans I'd written this before, but Bill Hall is my pick as well. Like you guys have said in the last few minutes here, he's been able to play every position basically that we've asked him to. He's been all over the field. He's been a leader in the clubhouse. They say that he was a big influence on some of the younger guys. Now that he's played now in the major leagues for a few years, he's been able to influence Ricky Weeks when he's come up and try to help him. Bill Hall had terrible defense his career until this year. All of a sudden he goes down, and I don't know the exact, I think it's 8 errors that he made this year, and 20 plus the years before. I mean, hopefully we can, and hopefully we can have that kind of, or he can have that kind of influence on Ricky Weeks, and his defense will improve as well. So I'm really looking at him as kind of the guy this year for the Unsung Hero Award.
Definitely. All right, well, let's move on to our Pitcher of the Year, and a lot of candidates for this one. Again, maybe attributed to Mike Maddox, really, getting the most out of the starting pitch. Yeah, that might be a new tradition here on the Brew Review. Each time we mention Mike Maddox, we'll have a little bit of his.
You got to do the lucky touch.
Yeah. But what I was going to say is, with both the starting pitching and the bullpen, I think overperformed and overachieved. So, Vince, what's your pick for the Brewers Pitcher of the Year 2005?
Chris Capuano was my pick. I think that at the beginning of the year, you knew that Capuano had talent, but because of his injury history, you didn't know exactly what he was going to do. And all of a sudden, he steps up and has a tremendous year, 18 wins. I mean, how could we ask for anything else from this guy?
First time since Teddy Higuera.
First time since Teddy Higuera, and a lefty is to boot as a starter. So I think that's been an incredible plus for us this year.
Yeah. Chad?
Vince, I have to really disagree with you. Derek Turnbull, heads and tails above. My man was untouchable in the second half. Capuano had a great year, 18 wins, but he did tail off pretty badly in September. And he was, not to lower his value, but he was a beneficiary of great run support. I think Turnbull has just come out of nowhere, sub-2 ERA, nearly untouchable in the second half. I do respect what Capuano did, but I think Turnbull, by heads and tails above, was the best Brewer pitcher of the season.
Okay. John?
Dispute again in the Barnes car on the way here. Michael's a big Derek Turnbull fan. I was for Chris Capuano, so just like the Brew Crew Review, for the reasons given. I went with Chris because of 18 wins, most in the longest time, complete surprise. Michael liked Derek Turnbull because he was untouchable.
Yeah. Okay, well, I'll wrap up kind of and say that I'm gonna go with Capuano too, just because I think he made the biggest breakthrough as a Brewer pitcher. One of the 18 wins is much more than any Brewer's done in a long time, so that's quite an accomplishment. And I agree, he did tail off later in the year, but well, I'm going to segue this right into our last award, and that's the Brewer Player of the Year. And even though I'm giving Capuano the Pitcher of the Year,
don't do this.
Yeah, I'm doing it. Like Derek Turnbow definitely was the most valuable player on the Brewers in 2005, and I picked him. And of course, he was then a candidate for the pitcher one. And I agree with Chad. The fact that he had this is a guy who came out of absolutely nowhere, picked him up off waivers. He finished with an under 2 ERA, finished tied for the Brewer record with 39 saves. So I think that without him, I don't think the Brewers had any chance of finishing 81 wins for sure. We probably would have won 10 less games if we didn't have that quality closer. So to me, that's value. But Vince.
Well, I'd actually join you. I picked Derek Turnbull myself. He was outstanding for us all year for the reasons that you just said. One stat that you didn't point out was he never had a save, I don't think, before this season.
No. Yeah, he also had 7 wins.
Yeah, he had 7 wins as a
45 of our victories he had a hand in.
He had a hand in, so I think that's direct evidence of how important he was to this ball club. And
I see you were mad because I stole your pick. That's all right.
That's why I was,
We can agree. But anyway.
Okay.
All right, moving over to you guys.
Derek Turnbull, definitely. And those 7 wins, that's a great point. And a lot of those wins were not because of blown saves. A lot of times relievers get wins after they blow a save. But he came in a lot of tie situations. Came in a lot of pressure situations. I think Turnbull by far is the MVP. And like you said, the excitement he brings to the game, a good point you mentioned earlier. There is an excitement when Derek Turnbull comes in.
It's like Eric Gagne is walking in at Dodger Stadium. It's the same mentality. They're going to be, the other team's going to be shut down. They have no chance.
And I just think that he's a guy that the Milwaukee fans can rally behind because he has a Milwaukee personality. He's just, like we said, he's kind of awkward, kind of goofy, but in a great way. And I think he's great for the city. I think he's just a great player. So I would Derek Turnbull, MVP.
Yeah.
Wow. I wish I had Derek's hair, we're going against the grain for MVP because without these two players, he wouldn't have a chance to get the save, maybe the win, but not the save. And Michael likes Carlos Lee because of the huge first half he had and keep the Brewers close to 500. Big addition. Now all of a sudden you got lefty, righty, lefty. You know, he was a major reason why the Brewers finished 500, and also allowing Derek to get the saves. But I have to go way against the grain for a lot of people. Though one person I think the Brewers can get on his back when he's hot and to carry a team is Jeff Jenkins.
Yep. Yeah.
Watching baseball much as I have for the years, he's the only player I've seen in recent history that's hot, that can carry a team. And he is the major reason for the second half, day in, day out, battered, bruised, nearly 30 home runs, almost 100 RBIs, plus assists from the right field. Without Jeff Jenkins in right field, and you can put anybody else out there, Brewers are 10 games under. So
yeah. I love that pick, and I was kind of disappointed that all three of us picked a pitcher for that spot, because it's always up for debate for the MVP award and stuff throughout baseball that it should be a position player, and so people's argument this year is it shouldn't be the DH as well. I kind of agree with those points actually, but it's just focusing on a very valuable player, Jeff Jenkins. Obviously, he does go on binges where he's hot for a long time, but he was hot for most of the second half. And one other thing is, I think his defense has always just been overlooked and underrated. I think what he brings, his all-out effort, and what he brings to the outfield, both in defense and when to have him in the Miller lineup, and the fact that he was homegrown, given a rewarded contract last season, I just think he's such a key cog to the Brewers' future, and he kind of links them to their past, and a great symbol for the Brewers. So
I think a good point too. He played with that back pain. A lot of players would have shut it down, and he really wanted the Brewers to be 500, and he gave it a good season. So I think definitely.
All right, so that was a great episode. Let's again extend our thanks to John Barnes for joining us on the show. Yep, we appreciate it. Definitely looking forward to 2006 for sure, and hopefully we can have John as a guest on our panel once again sometime in the near future. But
unfortunately, this might be my last episode. I think Michaal's probably going to replace me for the next one. Picks are probably better than mine. So I didn't pick Ricky Botellico as my most valuable.
Unfortunately, he's a little bit more
so
camera shy and a little bit more modest than Vince is, of course. But anyway, I think you'll have to let him borrow the aviators. Maybe I'll be more comfortable coming out on camera here. But anyway, with that being said, again, let's wrap up this episode and tune in again next month, and we're going to go over. We'll have another exciting episode for you then.
there's Michael.
There he is.
Hey.
There he is. There's our.
He's my general manager.
Future Melvin.
And remember,
Stay classy, Wisconsin.
Why do you build me up, buttercup baby, just to let me down and mess me around, and then worst of all, you never call baby when you say you will. But I love you still, I need you more than anyone, darling. You know that I have from the start. So build me up, buttercup, don't break my heart. I'll be over at 10, you told me time and again, but you're late. I waited around and then I run